Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Opposite the Monitor. And today we're going to get into some more Spider-Man news, some PlayStation news, as well as some more information about FarCry. But yeah, first of all, man, let's go ahead and jump into it. Insomniac confirms Wolverine game is set to be in the same universe as Spider-Man 2. So yeah, we already got some nods within the game about this. They both exist within the same Earth 1048. So that, we all exist in the same universe. So the developer actually spoke on Kinda Funny. So they go on to say that in an interview with Kinda Funny, Spider-Man 2 director Brian Intihar, I'm butchering that last name, confirmed that the two games do in fact exist in the same world. They're all 1048. Then added laughing, I think I got that right. So yeah, man, this is great news, man. He goes on to say that we wouldn't be true Marvel fans if we didn't have discussions like that. But I think for us it was, hey, working on these games is really hard. They're really complicated, and I think it was just like, hey, let's let the Wolverine team cook. Let's let them cook, and if something ever happens in the future, great. So this is kind of as referring to, like, I'm assuming they ask more questions about, like, can we get like a possible release date, anything like that. I personally think that they should just let the team work on it, make it the best they possibly can. You know what I'm saying? Possibly release it after, completing the trilogy for Spider-Man. I think that would be pretty dope. Or they could possibly release it in between, a DLC for Spider-Man 2. Or between the DLC and Spider-Man 3. So I mean that could be pretty dope as well. Then you can kind of like push Spider-Man 3 off and kind of have it like a big, like, probably throw like a cameo in there somewhere, possibly. Or you could put a cameo put Spider-Man as a cameo inside a Wolverine game. That'd be pretty dope as well. Ultimately though, I completely agree. I would rather just give them enough time to be able to make it an awesome game. I do think possibly, the engine looks amazing. I don't think they really need a new engine. The engine looks amazing though. So, I would not be surprised if, they continue using the same engine, but to build Wolverine, instead of Spider-Man. But they go on to say, but right now, let's just make sure that, that let's not box anybody. Oh, that's so bad. Make sure that let's not box anybody into a corner, and let's just make sure that they have a clear runway to make the best Wolverine possible, and it's going to be awesome. So I'm really excited about it. But we wouldn't be like Marvel fans if we didn't like about things, or we didn't talk about things. Jesus Christ, they're butchering his. I don't think English is his first language, I guess. But yeah, yeah, man, Wolverine, I'm excited for it, man. This is great information, great news that he's going to be like crossing over into, or he exists within the same universe as Spider-Man. But we got some more information. Also, now here's the flip side of it, the bad side. Spider-Man 2 director explains why those MJ stealth scenes had to be included. They didn't have to be included. He quote says, "If she's a little OP, I don't give a shit. She's fine. I don't care." This is a very destructive mindset, and I'm going to get into this now. Very much so destructive, because that's the same type of trend we saw with the CEO, the president of DICE before he left. When the last turd he dropped on everybody was Battlefield 5, and he left, and now they're working on the finals and stuff like that. Which lets me know that was kind of like, that was very much so like that was a whole marketing thing to try to, play on the strengths of what was happening in gaming culture at that particular time. But they go on to say that we also see that too in like The Last of Us Part 2. But the director goes on to say that we had two choices. We could say, all right, we'll make it easy and just not do it, and everybody would go, great, no MJ missions. Or we could say, hey, we've talked about showing the world from all different angles, and we're going to make her moments better. We're going to take on the challenge. Here's where it gets very much so egotistical and full of hubris. We're going to make people like playing as her. That sounds so much so like the creative director behind The Last of Us Part 2. We pick and choose our spots. We knew we had to make her more of a proactive, capable person. And if she's a little OP, I don't give a shit. She's fine. I don't care. This type of mindset is so destructive. And this type of mindset only comes from when and it seems like it only comes from when you have like people who have successful games like after the fact, and then the company kind of gives them a little bit more leeway to be like, okay, you proving yourself the first time, we're gonna hang back and let you do your thing type of shit. And this is just like, it's very much so a destructive mindset. Like, you should never want to go into anything trying to make people like something. Like, you should just go into it with, hey, we know our audience. This is something that we enjoy doing. You know what I'm saying? And we want to make, we want to do all of the right beats. We want to also make we want to also put our ideas into the game, but we also want to make sure that we're not like stepping on the toes of a franchise that's been around well, probably longer than him and definitely longer than me. So it's like, everybody has an integral role to play within the story of Spider-Man. And that's my thing, is like, you have Miles having his own story, his own journey. You have Peter having his own story, his own journey. And then you also have MJ. But MJ, we all know and understand MJ is not a superhero. She does have, she is a hero in her own right. And that's what she needed to be, which is why it's like, the MJ missions in the first one didn't bother me as much as the ones in this one did. The ones in this one felt forced, as if like, and obviously they were, but the ones in this one felt forced and I could feel it. And every time I played as MJ, all I wanted to do was just speed through it. I didn't care about the specific type of incident that was going on at the time. I didn't care about none of that. All I cared about was speeding through that, because I could tell that this should not be here. This should not be here. I should not be able to shoot enemies who are very much so strong and destructive with a single weapon that no one else seems to have, that can take, like, not even normal police officers, anything like that. Even Spider-Man, even Peter Parker and Miles Morales you can't even take them down in single hits. And my thing is just like, that's a very much so destructive mindset to go into. It's full of hubris. It's egotistical. It's egocentric. It's full of, I'm I'm going to do things my way and people better like it type of mentality. And that is very much so a destructive mindset. I would not be surprised if we went into Spider-Man 3 and he doubled down on that again to make it even worse. You know what I'm saying? And it has nothing to do with, MJ being a woman or nothing like that. It's more so just like, everyone has a role to play. Everyone has a role to play. Miles Morales can't just like, flip the switch and become the main Spider-Man and just do everything Peter can do, or do certain things and then just do it better. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, like, there's a reason why Peter gets the anti-venom suit and not Miles. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason why Peter can have a direct effect on Venom versus Miles. And that's just because that is his journey. That is his role. That is his destiny, essentially. And it doesn't make any sense to do that. If you wanted to pick a character that could like fulfill the female type of role, if you wanted to add a female role into that, just substitute the MJ missions with Wraith. You know what I'm saying? Or substitute the MJ missions with Black Cat or somebody like that who's like, Black Cat is an anti-hero. So she's not even like an actual type of hero. She's a thief. So like, if you wanted to have more stealth missions and stuff like that, Black Cat came across the item that Miles was trying to find to be able to save Peter from to be able to save Peter and all that stuff like that, or to be able to save Harry, and it's just like, what happened with that? She got her hands on that. We could have played a side quest as Black Cat to be able, there's your woman hero. We could have been able to sneak around, do the same type of stealthy missions and all that stuff like that, and we would have still been able to directly help Miles and Peter, because she obtained an item that they needed that was integral to the main story regardless. And my thing is just like, you playing as MJ. There is no main thing that she had to offer other than just like, helping Peter, up while while Harry was fighting Craven, and that's my thing, is just like, you're doing stuff for the sake of just doing it for yourself instead of just thinking about, okay, how can this properly affect the story in a broader way that offers more insight to specific characters from a different angle, outside of just, I just want MJ to just be amazing, and I'm going to make people like her because they didn't like her in the first game, and and acting like your feelings hurt and all this other shit. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't make any sense at all to me, and it's like, you could have done anything with anybody else. If you wanted to pick a female character, perfectly fine. You could have chose Taskmaster, somebody else, whoever is a side character in this world that's been in this world before. You could have chosen to be a side character doing this. You have Black Cat, utilize her. You have Wraith, utilize her. You're not utilizing these other characters, and these aren't even characters that are heroes. These are like anti-hero characters. These aren't heroes. You know what I'm saying? And that's my thing, is like, you could have played it from that angle. Since you're talking about wanting to show the world from all different angles, you could have played it from that angle. You didn't. You chose not to do that, and it's because it's only self-benefiting to your ego and to your hubris when you talk about making people like something that they clearly didn't like in the first game. Doesn't make any sense. So he goes on to say that, so Insomniac committed, believing in the importance of showing MJ as a capable hero, even if she didn't have powers. He goes on to say that was even part of the motivation to include her as a playable character in the final mission. Despite MJ not being the original plan, they even briefly toyed with letting players control MJ riding her bike, though that was ultimately scrapped to make room for other content. Yeah, this is not MJ's story. If you want to do an MJ DLC, then do an MJ DLC and see if people buy it. Like, it says Spider-Man on the cover for a reason. It doesn't say Mary Jane on the cover at all. It says Spider-Man. So it's like, no, like, I'm glad someone in there like has a brain and was like, hey bro, you need to stop. Like, this is Spider-Man. We are focusing on Spider-Man. You are getting off track. This is how game development studios and production studios interfere with the creative process, and then effectively games end up getting scrapped or canceled because you have people like this in positions of power to be able to derail a thought board, or like a planning board, essentially. And he goes on to say that, and that need to show her as a capable hero was also part of the reason that MJ got her incredibly powerful stun gun. Ridiculous. Doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get that. I don't understand the need into showing how powerful she is when people already appreciate Mary Jane just for the simple fact of the character being a love interest to Peter Parker. That's one reason. Other than that, she's a great investigator. She's a journalist. She's a great journalist and a great investigator, and supplies all types of information to Peter through her investigations. Like, there's no need to even have her be OP. She's already helping Spider-Man in her own right regardless. It didn't make any sense. It's just, you're not making this a strong point for people to like. What you're gonna do is you're gonna end up making MJ an unlikable character when you go down this route. You're gonna end up making MJ an unlikable character, and you're gonna end up making people not like MJ at all. Like, there's no need to, granted, like, people may not like playing MJ in the game. Perfectly fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can have her be in the game and play as her in like small portions. If you just want to showcase her doing her investigative work and stuff like that. That's why, for me personally, I like the first MJ missions, because that's what it was. It was a stealthy investigative work, which was fine to me. I didn't care about that. But then when you start adding in all this ridiculous ass stuff and you start going outside of the actual frame of the character, now this one is just like, oh, it's getting ridiculous. It's getting stupid. You know what I'm saying? And now it's like starting to slowly, like, not have me have not necessarily have me be excited for the next iteration of this, because I know you're going to shove MJ down my throat again and make me play her because you think that you're making me like her. And you're not. The only thing I'm gonna do is speed through the missions like I did in this one. I'm gonna speed through that shit, and I'm gonna go take me a break. I'm gonna speed through this shit, and then I'm gonna do 100 side quests where I'm just playing as Peter Parker or Miles the whole entire damn time. You know, it's just it's stupid and ridiculous. But yeah, man, I just wanted to let me know what your thoughts is, man, in the comments of this video, man. Let me know whether or not you guys feeling different. You was talking about being divisive with this particular iteration of the MJ missions and stuff like that. Let me know in the comments, man, whether guys you agree with this, disagree with it, or whatever like that. Me personally, I think it's pretty stupid to even have that type of mindset or to even project that type of mindset out to the public like that. You have to be a ballsy type of person to just say that kind of idiotic shit like that without actually thinking about every type of the lay of the land or the future. You're not even trying to foreshadow your thoughts. You just sitting back I'm gonna say this shit and I'm just gonna throw it out there, and if people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't care. And it's that's exactly how other people before you have just destroyed entire fan bases and communities, and people who like buying games is just like, nope, not buying the next Battlefield because you're doing this stupid shit. Nope, not buying the next Last of Us because you're doing this dumb shit. It's just it just doesn't make any sense. But moving on though. Got some more information. Metal Gear Solid games flooded with negative reviews on Steam. So this was the original article, the original story that came out about this. Since then, it has been upgraded and everything like that. There's a new update that's come out, not necessarily from Konami itself, but thank you modders once again for saving the day. Modders are very integral to the gaming community, and I love modders. I always support modders. I always support the modding community and stuff like that because they add more flavor and they add more spice to my games that I like from time to time. And even then they fix issues that development companies seem to just not care about. So the original story effectively, was just getting review bombed on Steam and stuff like that. PC port was garbage, not surprised. But my thing here, and this may be a controversial take with it. So they go on to say that while writing 55% of the 123 reviews for Metal Gear Solid 2 are negative on the platform, many players have acknowledged the core strengths of the timeless release, but this version falls short in every other department. So effectively, the game in and of itself is still amazing. The problem in which it is the generation in which this game has come out into. That is the problem. People today seem more to care about resolution and the graphics, the way the game looks, textures. You know what I'm saying? Got to wait for that HD texture pack to finish downloading and all that stuff like that. You get used to playing certain shit all the time. When you start getting games that are out of your wheelhouse, then gamers complain about certain shit. So, my thing is that going into this, my expectations were not set on, this game, it needs to look modern or it needs to look amazing. I'm perfectly fine with 720p. 720p is very much so better than what the original came out looking like. This is pure nostalgia for people who want to dive back into a world where, you can relive your childhood essentially. That is all my expectation was of the the Metal Gear Solid collection, the Master Collection. And that's what I went into this with. And it's I love it. Even without the HD texture pack. Granted, the HD texture pack does make it look way better. But I was perfectly content with the original product. You get a shit ton of games, you get hours and hours of content. You can't expect them to release all of that content that's in that collection. You can't expect them to release that at less than, the mark, less than, I think it's $60, $70, something like that. I forgot how much I paid for it with, because I was like, I don't even care about the price. I'm just buying it because it's it's a collection of games that I enjoyed as a kid. But yeah, it's it just, most of the reviews, are legitimate, but they're not substantial. Like they downvote the game because of the graphical fidelity of it, but the game in and of itself plays really good, and it's still, the story is great. It's not even like they changed, like, you know, and this is the problem, right? Like, it's like they didn't even go the route of Rockstar, whereas like they tried to upscale it and the shit just come out looking goofy. And my thing is like, do you want the same thing that happened to Metal Gear? Do you want Konami to just come out and pull a Rockstar and increase the graphics and all that and just make it look goofy as fuck? No, you don't want that. Just let them re-release it, you know, possibly upscale it here or there. You know what I'm saying? 720p is perfectly fine. I never expected to play this on my actual desktop. I have a ROG Ally that this entire collection fits perfectly on my handheld. That's what I have it for. You know, and it's, you know, it plays great on my ROG Ally. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't overheat any damn thing. I can run my shit at like, you know, 720p high settings and never have to worry about my fans cranking up really loud or anything like that. You know, it just works. It's amazing. You know, just like Todd Howard always says, it just works. That's it. Just works, bro. But they go on to say that one major criticism of the Master Collection had to do with its resolution targets. Previously, Konami claimed that these games will run at 720p. The publisher later clarified that the games would target 1080p, but this target is up converted from 720p. Now, I think that's bullshit. I think that you don't need to come out here telling people that, you know, previously it was, you know, that it was going to be 1080p and then it comes out being 720, or an up converted version, which is essentially like a non-native upscaling of 720p to 1080p. You don't need to do that. Just tell people that it's 720p initially, and then that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this is kind of getting into the conversation of that I had before in my previous video about like remakes versus remasters and stuff like that. And this is why I think like, so even with like just the Metal Gear Delta's new gameplay trailer that released looks phenomenal, looks amazing. And that's why I mostly say like, in my opinion, I think Konami should have went down the same route that Capcom went down. You start off with, you know, you can start off with Metal Gear Solid Delta, you know, or, you know what I'm saying, kind of incorporate, you know, different parts of Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 in there a little bit. We know Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 isn't the most popular out of the three, but you know, some story beats and things need to be added to kind of give some clarification to make this an actual remake. So then that way you can kind of introduce people who weren't there from the beginning to be able to kind of get an idea of what they're jumping into now as far as story goes. And I think they probably should have went down the Capcom route or go down the Square Enix route of making it episodic, essentially. You know, but in my case, it's like, you know, I could have been perfectly fine without even having this Master Collection. You could have essentially given you could have done Metal Gear Solid Delta, have that be the new iteration, you know, of the, you know, rebooted the whole entire franchise, and then do remakes of Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2, you know, just drop Metal Gear Solid Delta, you know, and have that be the main line jumping, the jump off point for the story moving forward, and then, you know, redo Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 using the exact same engine to kind of give, like, you know, players who want to be able to jump back into those stories and stuff like that, to play those stories with, you know what I'm saying, enhance graphics and stuff like that, maybe change a few set pieces here and there, make subtle changes to where it feels fresh and new, but, you know, still like create more of like a new story and kind of reboot things in your own way, starting off with Metal Gear Solid Delta and stuff like that. I think that would have probably worked out a lot better versus doing just a Master Collection. Granted, you know, it's like, that's kind of like the easiest thing to kind of do, is just like, hey, we're just gonna put all the games that you guys love and put them in one big collection, and we're just gonna give them to you for $70, you know what I'm saying, or $60 or whatever like that. And it's like, yeah, that's the low tier effort way of doing that, which is perfectly fine if that's what you want to do. But it's, you know, I think personally, this would have gone a lot smoother and better if you would have just done remakes, because this particular generation is divided between gameplay and graphics. And I've had the conversation before, and I've asked people before, even on this channel in a previous video, I've asked that question. I've talked to people. I've asked them. People are very much so divided between gameplay and graphics. I'm personally more on the gameplay side. I don't care about 60 FPS, or I don't care about a quality setting that makes my game run at 60 FPS. I'd rather drop the resolution down to 1440 from 4K and run 60 or run 120, or drop it down from 1440 to 1080p and run it at 165 hertz and just look at the buttery smoothness of my gameplay mechanics, and just I don't need high fidelity graphics as long as my gameplay is great, and so that's kind of like the conversation I'm kind of getting to with this. And it's just more so like most of the reviews that I read, even just off of this article, they're all geared towards graphics, audio quality, accessibility features, things like that. And it's like, yeah, I mean, the audio is something that you could probably rework that wouldn't be that hard in a later update and stuff like that. Probably wouldn't be that hard if you just released it with better audio to begin with. But I understand about releasing specific games in their original state to be able to preserve that nostalgia that people are looking for, because that's the whole point in releasing this as a master collection. It's to try to garner up enough hype to make people want to jump back into this world to buy the new game. And you want to be able to preserve that for the people who have supported the game for decades. So my thing is like, or supported the franchise for decades. So my thing is like, it's doesn't make any sense to get upset about the graphics of something that's 20 years old. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this game is more than 20 years old, man. Like, it's not going to look like something they just made yesterday. And that's what I'm saying. There's a generational divide. There's a generational divide between people who originally got these games and people who are just finding out about this and are like, oh, these are a bunch of games. This is a nice deal. I'm going to jump into this. Oh, this shit isn't worth $60. Look at the graphics. It looks terrible. These are potato graphics and all this other dumb shit. And it's just like, yeah, the game is like 20 something years old, bro. Like, you may want to get over that, get over how it looks, and more so dive into the story elements, dive into the mechanics, dive into some of the things that you don't actually get in a game, in a modern game today, because all they do is want to sell you map packs and shit. And all they want to do is sell you battle passes and all this other stuff that's like ridiculous. And that's the only thing people focus. And then you essentially purchase a turd anyways. You purchase a turd, and then you're only getting the game. You're only paying $70 for a battle pass. That's it. So you can compare skins and shit. That's kind of the conversation I've had with people that are younger than me, people who, who are come from a different generation than me, essentially. And it's just like, yeah, your priorities are different than ours, which is perfectly fine. You know what I'm saying? You can have different priorities, but my thing is that you need to have a little bit more self-awareness and have a little bit more awareness of actually what you are, choosing to purchase, and what the value of your dollar is versus somebody else's. That's my thing. But yeah, man, I think it's kind of like a weird time to even put this out, but just to kind of go on, and they got some more additional information. Metal Gear Solid Master Collection gets much needed HD texture pack. Thank you, modders. This is available on Nexus Mods. You can be able to get. So they go on to say that the new packs, which are now available on Nexus Mods, feature AI upscale textures 2 and 4 times their original resolution. In some cases, the upscaling process brightens some of the textures, but it's undeniable they look much better than the original textures, especially at the higher resolutions enabled by another recent mod. So, I mean, yeah, man, there you go. The people that's complaining about graphical fidelity and stuff like that, Nexus Mods, thank you, modders. Make sure you go to the community and be like, thank you. Because they're there. That's what they typically do all the time, is save developers from themselves, essentially. But yeah, man, this is great news though. But moving on. Oh, we got some more information. PS5's optional disk drive needs to connect to the internet to pair it to the console. What kind of like ridiculous asinine shit is this, where it's like you buy a piece of hardware and then it needs an internet connection to it needs an internet connection to connect to the other piece of hardware, when you could simply just plug the optional disk drive into a USB Type-C connector, and it just doesn't make any sense. There's disk drive, there's optical drives that exist that do that, that are Blu-ray, that don't require you to even need an internet connection. This whole shit just is stupid. It doesn't make sense, and I hate talking about this, but I have to. It's just like, I'm so glad the CEO is retiring, because he's legit. Or these are all moves that he greenlighted. There's running this shit into the ground, and it doesn't make any sense. Even then, just like I said before, the old edition, the original digital version, which this is what this is all talking about. The original digital version of the PS5 was $400. It was cheaper than what the one that is the Slim is being released as, $450. That's $150 without the optical drive, the optional disc drive. That's $150. This is just the console without the disc drive. The actual disc drive costs an extra $50, and it needs an internet connection, which makes it $500, which makes it the equivalent to the one that already has a disc drive. So please explain to me, why would you pay another $200 for this at all? It's stupid. Doesn't make any sense at all. And you're also throwing another roadblock. All these incremental changes to the PS5 console, just to be able to, muddy the waters and hide the fact that you're trying to make this more expensive, is ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. These are just like, hey, let's go ahead and do this. Let's do that. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's confuse the shit out of our community, so then that way they don't know what to buy. And on top of that, it's like, oh, we're going to make the PS5 Slim or whatever like that, and then we're going to discontinue the original ones, even though the original PS5 digital version was $100 cheaper than the one that you're trying to sell right, $150 cheaper than the one that you're trying to sell right now. So then ultimately you're going to just force people into buying a Slim version at $150. Stupid. That's why I tell people, if you have patience, wait for the Pro. At least with the Pro may end up being more than the original, but at least you're going to get more bang for your buck. You're going to get more bang for your buck. I know for a fact they're going to increase the performance of it. It has to justify the name. It has to live up to the name. And they're going to put enough into it to be able to justify the price and the name. Skip the Slim version. Or maybe don't, maybe don't skip the Slim version. So then that way, when the people that want to buy the Pro, they don't have to be price gouged for no damn reason, or they don't have to be price gouged for the fact that nobody bought the Slim version, but it's just ridiculous. I had to just throw this in here because this whole entire generational cycle is very much so stupid in and of itself. And I'll always say that. But moving on. We got some more information, man. Capcom is working on a next generation RE engine successor. This is great. I'm always down for development studios investing in their engines. So they go on to say that, PC Games Inc. says Capcom has revealed that it is working on a successor to RE engine. While details are currently fairly light, we do know that it has codenamed REX or Rex engine, standing for the RE Next engine, apparently. Great. This is great news, man. I'm always down for like improvements to an engine, because if you improve the engine, if the engine is the base, it's the foundation. If you make a new engine or you improve it, it creates new possibilities for developers to create better games, better looking games, different type of games, all that kind of stuff. So it goes on to say that according to Ishida, who is one of the developers, the need for a next generation engine stems from a hope to better handle high volumes of larger asset sizes more efficiently. In addition, Capcom aims to meet the increased demand for customizability and usability, specifically the need for a high degree of customization in each development title. So this is nice. So this means that, with this particular new engine, you could possibly see, more custom created world environments, set pieces, things like that. Possibly, it can be able to handle a lot more. So then that way they're maybe trying to focus on making some of these like these Resident Evil games a lot more expansive, which I hope this is a insight into possibly making another like a Resident Evil Outbreak type of situation, or you know what I'm saying, like kind of like a open world survival type of Resident Evil game. I would love that, where you can create your own character and you're just one of these random ass people in the world and that lives within this world that this entire like cataclysmic event happened and it's wiped out most of the population, and you just create your own character and you live within this world, and you're going out doing side quests for like trying to help specific people just surviving and stuff like that. They possibly introduce some of the other characters like what I'm saying, like Chris and Claire and stuff like that, and you end up doing side quests with them and stuff, and that whole entire thing could be pretty dope. And you can literally turn it into an open world horror survival game. Man, I love that idea. And I always think that like making like new engines for games is always a benefit. It's always a benefit to have that. And if you can invest into that, that's the best type of investment that any development company or any production company can have, because you can run multiple different games off a brand new engine like that. But yeah, man, this is great news, man. I'm excited for this. I can't wait to see what they do next with Resident Evil. I hope that Chris Redfield, like they said before, is going to bring back be the centerpiece of it all. Keep Resident Evil going for years, man, for decades. It's already been going for decades as it is now. I've been playing Resident Evil since I was in elementary school, and I'm still playing it to this day. And keep going. Just keep going. I'm going to continue playing Resident Evil well into my old age. But yeah, so moving on though, man, we got some more information. We got some more information on the FarCry multiplayer version of the game. So there's a rumor. I don't like talking about rumors like that. I like getting more confirmation, but I kind of talked about this before in another video. The next FarCry game is an extraction-based multiplayer shooter with permadeath. Sounds like a normal ass extraction shooter to me. I'm pretty sure most extraction shooters are permadeath. When you die, that is it. Yes, you do bring over some of your, like some of your experience and things like that. But for the most part, most extraction shooters that I've played, when you die, you lose everything. That's DMZ. That is, even with like Fortnite or whatever like that, the same way that Marathon's gonna be, the same way that like any other type of extraction shooter that I could possibly think of. But they go on to say that while it's widely believed that Ubisoft has Far Cry 7 in the works, it's now being reported that the next Far Cry title to actually release will be an extraction-based shooter. According to the reliable Insider Gaming, it's codenamed Project Maverick, and it's basically a multiplayer spinoff. I don't like the fact that they're trying to go down this extraction route, man. Like, because what this is effectively doing is that it's the new battle royale, and it's like there are already games that do this, and this shit is already tired. It's getting tired and played out. You can blame Activision for that. Once Activision gets into the space, it's effectively tired and played out. DMZ is created, effectively tired and played out. I will always say that I enjoy arena shooters more than I enjoy extraction based or like battle royale shooters, in my opinion. And for the simple fact of it's just a lot more fun. There's a lot more long-term gaming involved with that if you can do it right. And Far Cry used to be that. Like, they used to have a Far Cry arena shooter multiplayer that was great. And I don't understand why they just wanted to go with X-Defiant instead of just like, you already have the mechanics for Far Cry, the gunplay mechanics in Far Cry, and it's a first-person shooter. You already have that. Utilize that engine in that game and the lore behind that game to create you a new multiplayer that will allow people to be able to be doing an arena shooter. And it's just like you because you already have, like, the different type of factions that existed within the different Far Cry games. You could have just did that. You could have just did Far Cry multiplayer, take factions from older games, implement them into the multiplayer, and then people can just choose the faction that they want to play from the specific Far Cry game that they liked. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could have just, you have a counterpart. If you think about it, each individual story had its own faction counterpart to the enemies. Like there was, you had, even in Far Cry 6, you had the rebels or whatever like that, and then you had them fighting against the government and stuff like that. Like, that already existed. So my thing is, like, there's ways to incorporate that, you know what I'm saying, into, you know, even in Far Cry 5, right, where, you know, you were in, I think it looked like Montana. I think it was Montana. You were in like an American state or whatever like that, and you had this cult group versus, like, you know, the sheriff officers or whatever like that of the town that also had their own type of people fighting. You could just bring in those factions and have people versus each other, and they just automatically get put on a specific faction, or they could choose a specific faction. They don't need to necessarily be like, you know, a hero-based shooter or whatever like that. You could just pick a person or like an operator or whatever like that, like a character from one of the factions. You know, you unlock guns as you play, you unlock attachments, you unlock all this other different stuff like that. You can, you know, you could pick a specific class where you can control dogs, you know, or you can make dogs as like a kill streak. You know, you already have the dogs in there. You can just make them like a kill streak. That's what I'm saying. There's so much stuff they could have did with this. It doesn't make sense, but they choose to go with, you know, what's trendy, trend chasing, like I keep saying. But moving on. Last little bit of information that I kind of want to shed some light on. Ex-Bethesda developers reveal internal debate about Starfield scope. Oh man, sounds like somebody had the same type of idea that I had when the game first came out. So Bruce Nesmith, who was lead designer on the Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim, and senior designer on Starfield before leaving Bethesda in 2021, told MinMax he initially proposed that the space role-playing game only have around 24 systems instead of 120 it ended up with. Exactly. Didn't need all of that. It was useless, ridiculous, especially since you can't even venture out too far on the planets anyways. The point was made quite legitimately that once you've done one solar system, doing 100 is really not adding to your work at all that much. Exactly. Doesn't really change that much. So he goes on to say that you have to know how to build a planet so people can walk around on it. You have to have various objects, life forms that they interact with, rocks, all that. You have to do the ice worlds, the crater worlds, just doing our own solar system, all our variety that you have to have just to do that. You've done 90% of the work for the rest of it. He goes on to say that Todd pretty much pulled the number 100 out for the number of star systems out of thin air. But the more we went on, the more it was like, okay, core activity takes place in these 24 in the settled systems region, and the rest of it is open space. Stupid. But people love our big games. They love that open area to explore. So let's go ahead and let them have it. And then it was down to, okay, how do we make exploration meaningful? And once again, you have to succeed on one planet. Once you've got that formula, you have the formula for all the planets. And that's just one thing that he kind of like, you know, says that, you know, they didn't focus on, you know what I'm saying? And that's my thing, is just like, if they would have focused on uniqueness, focused on, you know what I'm saying, like details and stuff versus like quantity, it would have actually made the game a lot more meaningful, and it would have made the game a lot more, like, even now I'm still playing through it. Like I said, I just enjoy the story beats more. I haven't finished it yet, but I just enjoy the story beats more, and I'm just like, I jump in whenever whenever I beat different games. I've already beat Spider-Man. It was amazing. Going through the side quest, beating, trying to, 100% complete it. And, currently right now I'm also playing Alan Wake 2, and I'm really enjoying that game. I've been playing Alan Wake 2 for about 4 days now. And that entire game is amazing. Like, it very much so is Game of the Year contender. I will say that much. That game is amazing. And then I'm also playing Lords of the Fallen, man. And Lords of the Fallen is also kind of like a nice little game I'm playing as well. And I'm also playing Forza Motorsport, you know. So I'm just kind of bouncing between a bunch of different games. But Starfield is kind of like, hey, you know, I'll just jump in from time to time when I feel like it, you know, when I'm not busy. And that's kind of like where it's at now, because it's more so like, you know, a lot of the stuff doesn't feel unique. It just feels samey. I've said before, like sometimes when I go, like I see the repeat of the layouts of space stations every time I go into one. It's all the same. And this is procedural generation, man. And this is like, it was worthless. I would have been completely good without even doing 24. I'd have been completely good with just having 5 or 6 star systems with about 3 to 5 planets in each, 3 to 5 unique planets in each star system. And each star system offers a different difficulty setting, a different difficulty level or whatever like that. And then they all offer specific minerals and raw materials that you need for crafting and stuff like that. I would have been more okay with that than just watching a bunch of people collect 200 sandwiches and putting them shits in closets. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. You know, if that's what you find funny, if that's what you find fun and shit, I mean, go ahead, do it. But it's just ridiculous, you know? And it's like, people should not be trying to take 200 sandwiches and stuff them shits in closets. They should actually be showing gameplay of like other portions of the game that are amazing, but yet and still it's, you know, people ain't even trying to explore your game. They just out here like, oh, I'm finna just collect 200 sandwiches because that's what they showed in the promo for the game. And I'm just like, bro, like this shit is just ridiculous, bro. It's like, why? This isn't even the aim of the game. People are not even finishing this shit. They're not even finishing the game. And it's just like, you know, but you know, it's nice to know that someone out there that is closely tied to the development of the game had the same type of sentiment where it's like, you don't need all of this. You don't need it all. You don't need all of this at all. Just focus on uniqueness. That's what I like. But let me know in the comments, man, what you guys think, man. Let me know what you thought of the episode today, man. Let me know, you know, do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you know what I'm saying? Are you halfway? Are you divided now? Anything like that? What do you think about the MJ missions? These MJ missions are getting a little ridiculous. If I had to say so myself, it's just getting, you know, out of hand. And I'm pretty sure Spider-Man 3, they're just going to double down on it and make it even worse. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me know in the comments if you guys like the video. Make sure you like the video. If you guys like the content, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and I'm going to see you guys next week. Thank you.